You're about to see one of my favorite videos of all time, because no matter how old or young you are, no matter how strong or weak you're feeling today, this is going to end up being probably your favorite 10 minutes of the day. Now, the video starts off slow, it has to, so I can make it stick. But by the time it's over, you're going to be super glad that you hung in there. Are you ready? Let's get it done. Hey, you know that you're in control of your breathing, right? Like right now, as you're watching this video, you can feel that you're in control? All right, good. That's important, because this might be the first time all day that you've even thought about it. In fact, most of you have been going throughout your daily business not even considering the fact that you're in control of your breathing. You've just been letting your brain go on autopilot, just automatically take care of that in the background while you do other things. Now, your brain will do that, but it can be dangerous. Right now, I think for the first time today, you're having trouble not thinking about your breathing. You can feel the oxygen moving in and out of your chest, feel your lungs expanding and contracting, and you are acutely aware that you are in control of the rate at which you are breathing. That's really important, that feeling of control. Guys, if you let it, your brain will do all kinds of stuff for you automatically, and it will screw all kinds of stuff up automatically. It's kind of hardwired to do that. Your brain is great at certain things and absolutely terrible at other things. That's why it's important for you to know when it's time to take control. So I started with the example of breathing because it helps most people understand this instantly. It's like the perfect analogy here. Most of the time, breathing just happens. It's in the background, it's automatic. But there are times in your life when you know if you don't take conscious control over your breathing, you'll die, like literally. Can you imagine if you were underwater and you didn't suppress your brain's natural desires, your brain's natural urges? If you didn't consciously control your breathing, your brain would just naturally take in a nice, big, deep breath of water, and you would drown and you would die. No bueno. Now, if that sounds stupid to you, if that sounds too obvious to you, friends, it is no more stupid and no more obvious than what you've probably been doing with the bad thoughts over the course of your day. With your limits, with your fears, with your frustrations, with your anxieties, whatever it is, you've probably been doing something just as stupid as taking a big, deep breath when you're underwater. We need to stop doing it. A lot of you know that I was a police officer, and I'm not ashamed to admit to you that there were a few times over the course of my career when I realized that I was fighting somebody who was bigger than me, or better than me, or they had just outpositioned me in the moment, and I was in trouble, and I knew it. Now, for those of you who don't know, that gun on your hip as a police officer, it is not a great equalizer in most circumstances. Like once you go hands-on with somebody, you couldn't get that thing out if you wanted to, and it's much more of a liability and an encumbrance than anything else. But that's another video for another day. But here's my point, and it's an important one. A subtle but important part of any type of a physical altercation is your breathing. And if you lose control of your breathing, you're going to lose the fight. You have very little control over that. If at any point during those confrontations, when I realized I was at a disadvantage, if I became panicked, or when I realized that I was no longer in physical control of the fight, if I allowed those emotions to kind of take over and gain control of things like my breathing, it was it. I would not be filming this video in front of you here today, guaranteed hands down. And I think there's probably a poignant metaphor for life wrapped up in that, because sometimes life is going to throw things at you and remind you that you're not in control. And sometimes life is going to put you at a position of disadvantage, right? But you're going to be fine. If you allow yourself to panic or you allow your emotions to take over, you lose control of everything. As long as you maintain control in your head, right, you're eventually going to be able to overcome or outlast whatever it is that you're dealing with. So I think rule number one for everybody is you got to stay in the fight if you're going to win, right? You don't always have to be in control or at the advantage, but you got to be in the fight. Sticking with the example of breathing here, because again, it just works perfectly for most people, and I can apply so many metaphors to it. I think a lot of you are probably pointing out in the comments that controlling your breathing is not going to win the fight for you. And that's true. It's a fact. Breathing alone will not win fights. But if you don't control your breathing, you're going to lose the fight. And I think a bare minimum requisite of winning a fight is that you don't lose it because of lack of knowledge, technique, or talent. And so when it comes to controlling breathing, when I was in circumstances on the road or when I'm in a sparring session and I feel like I've lost the advantage or I've lost control, controlling the breathing buys me time for my opponent to make a mistake or for backup to get there, or for my opponent to tire out because they're not controlling their breathing. And a lot of untrained fighters will lose their fights for the only reason that they forgot to breathe during the fight. And after a minute or two, they've gone critical when it comes to oxygen debt, they've gone hypoxic, and they can't fight anymore. And I think an 8-year-old Girl Scout could probably beat a Navy SEAL in a fight if the Navy SEAL has gone hypoxic and can't compete anymore because they're simply out of breath. That's the importance of controlling your breathing when it comes to physical confrontations. It keeps you in the fight. Point made. So far we've used these analogies to kind of explain how our brain will do certain things automatically and how the automatic functions of our brain are good most of the time, but absolutely terrible, dare I say fatalistic, if we allow them to be in control on autopilot in times of crisis. So I used the easy example of controlling your breathing and how that can have cataclysmic consequences, or conversely, if you choose to take control of breathing, it can at least keep you in the fight, which is enough to make sure that you win most of the fights. I want to now remind you that although you might not be in martial arts, you might not be a police officer or a soldier, I can guarantee you, you're all in the fight of life. You are all in this struggle that we face on a day in, day out basis, where things are going to come at us and make us feel like we're at a disadvantage or make us feel like we've lost control. The brain that we have been relying upon to get through the average routines of our day is not equipped to handle those difficult moments of our life. And so many people are assuming that they can just take their hands off the wheel and respond as their brain tells them to respond, and that could not be further from the truth. It is a guaranteed recipe for disaster. Your brain is a very primitive thing when it comes to emotions, when it comes to adrenaline, when it comes to fear, when it comes to frustration, when it comes to anxiety. Your brain is going to respond instinctively, not intelligently, to the twinge of adrenaline, the rush of cortisol, or any of the other negative hormones that can rush through our brain anytime we experience one of those powerful emotions in our life. And so that is where we have to gain conscious control. That is the circumstance where we have to stop our brain from inhaling a big gulp of water by accident. We have to make sure that we don't inhale a large gulp of emotions when we need them least, which is when we're not feeling good, when we're feeling broken, when we're feeling down, or when we're feeling like things aren't going right. That is when we have to take control of our emotions. We have to gain control of that inner monologue and absolutely steer our brain in the right direction. If you're not doing that, you are guaranteeing that you will not win. Is that enough to win every fight? No, but it gives you a chance to overcome or outlast every single struggle that you will ever face in your life, and most people aren't doing it. Now, I didn't bring you along this far for me to just explain how this is done and then mic drop and walk away. I'm actually going to show you how it's done, and I'm going to help you feel what it feels like to take control of those negative thoughts during those times of difficulty or crisis in your life. I want to remind you guys, when bad things happen, when the disadvantage sets in and you lose control, that is your trigger, that is your reminder. You have to take control. It's so important that you do this, not only for you and for your happiness, but for those around you, those who are depending upon you, those who call you a friend. Because not only do you need to be there to help them out, but a lot of times we lean too heavily on other people for the simple fact that, we can't control what's going on in our own lives. Don't be that person, right? You're better than that and you're stronger than that. You just need the right techniques. So what I'm about to show you is called a palindrome, and it's pretty remarkable. If you've never seen this before, what we did a few years ago is we asked the community to send in a description of what they feel, what they think when it's all gone to waste, when the day has turned south or something has suddenly gone wrong in their lives. And we took all of those comments, the ones that we felt like we could fit appropriately into this exercise, and we listed them one by one in such an order that you could scroll them in front of a person and clearly understand everything that they were feeling in that moment, the defeat, the dismay, right? They're just unfortunately sucked into a negative mindset because of it. But then we have it so that you can play it backwards. And as soon as you reverse those comments and you literally play them backwards, it is the complete opposite. It is empowering, it is inspiring, and that is the technique that you will use in your real life. And yes, it's that simple. You just have to practice it. It is that simple. When your brain is giving you that negative monologue, you flip it around and you say the opposite to yourself. You are in control. You are at the helm. You are going to tell your brain intelligently what it needs to do to overcome the stupidity and the impulsivity that it's responding to in your life, okay? So I'm going to play this for you, and I'm going to encourage you to make it through the first 2.5, I think maybe 3 minutes, because you've heard these things before, and they are negative. As I read through them, Just recognize that you've seen them, you've heard them, maybe they were in your head yesterday, maybe they're going to reappear tomorrow. But when the video flips around, when I begin to play these things in reverse order, you're going to experience the power of reversing that monologue to turn it into something positive. And even if you're not feeling like it's the right thing to think, say, or do, you're going to understand the power that it will have over your life, over the crisis, over that day, if you can simply reverse it. And so you may have to practice this a few times, but I want you to experience how powerful it can be if you reverse the negativity in your life and guide yourself in the right direction. You stay in control. You stay in the fight. Let's see how it goes.
I will give up. I will never prove I'm tough enough for this world. So from this moment forward, I resolve that I will be beaten from the inside out. I know that my weaknesses, my failures, my doubts and my fears will gradually become bigger and more powerful with every struggle. I know that my determination, my courage, and my strengths are likely waiting for me, yet undiscovered at the end of some difficult path. And I'm confident now that some of life's most beautiful and powerful moments, they're gone, in my past. I have a new perspective now. Fortitude, I only see weak thoughts. In life, what you want often becomes your sacrifice. So the way I see it, if you don't sacrifice for what you want, that's a guaranteed win. Because even if you fail, you never forfeit anything. Watch me quit. You will never again see me struggle like everyone else. But that's because I've changed. I feel it now. I've become who my doubters thought I was. I refuse to accept that I can and will rise above this. It might seem like a cliche, but the tough times remind us who we really are inside. They test us, expose our weaknesses, and define our limits. They're more important than I ever knew possible. The daily struggles of this life have made me who I am by repeatedly pushing me beyond my comfort zone. The disappointment and fear and pain I've endured remind me, every day, that the next problem or challenge is just waiting to defeat me. On days like today, I refuse to accept that this or anything else can get better. So starting this very moment, I've decided it's time to give in. This is my choice, and the time has come. Never again will I shoulder more than I think I'm capable of, even if it means that I occasionally give up on something that's important to me. I feel like it's impossible now to have faith in my future, to let go of what was, and to accept what is. I need to be able to get away from this. Run, hide, cry. I now admit, I think I like the way that sounds. They say people act and feel differently when they think strong thoughts. What happens if I don't? I want to see. I already know what giving up feels like. It's not as bad as I thought. Unless it's not as bad as I thought. I already know what giving up feels like. I want to see what happens if I don't. They say people act and feel differently when they think strong thoughts. I think I like the way that sounds. Get away from this, run, hide, cry. I now admit. I need to be able to accept what is, to let go of what was, and to have faith in my future. I feel like it's impossible now to give up on something that's important to me, even if it means that I occasionally shoulder more than I think I'm capable of. Never again will I give in. This is my choice, and the time has come. Starting this very moment, I've decided it's time to get better. So on days like today, I refuse to accept that this or anything else can defeat me. The next problem or challenge is just waiting to remind me, every day, that the disappointment and fear and pain I've endured have made me who I am by repeatedly pushing me beyond my comfort zone. The daily struggles of this life, they're more important than I ever knew possible. They test us, expose our weaknesses, and define our limits. The tough times remind us who we really are inside. It might seem like a cliche, but I can and will rise above this. I refuse to accept that I've become who my doubters thought I was. That's because I've changed. I feel it now. See me struggle like everyone else, but you will never again watch me quit. That's a guaranteed win, because even if you fail, you never forfeit anything. The way I see it, if you don't sacrifice for what you want in life, what you want often becomes your sacrifice. So I have a new perspective now. Fortitude. I only see weak thoughts in my past. They're gone. I'm confident now that some of life's most beautiful and powerful moments are likely waiting for me, yet undiscovered at the end of some difficult path. And I know that my determination, my courage, and my strengths become bigger and more powerful with every struggle. I know that my weaknesses, my failures, my doubts, and my fears will gradually be beaten from the inside out. So from this moment forward, I resolve that I will prove I'm tough enough for this world. I will never give up. I will never quit.
What you've just seen is called the Never Quit poem. And if you ever want to access that exercise directly, like without having to sit through the 10-minute preamble that I may just sit through today in order to get to it, we've made it available for you. You can go to the Timothy Shoemaker Live YouTube channel, click on videos, and search the library for Never Quit poem. Now, I spent a little bit of time today discussing breathing and how important it is to control your breathing. I used it as an example, as a metaphor, right? An analogy, if you will, to demonstrate how some things happen in our lives automatically, but that can hurt us unless we take control, especially in times of crisis, right? I hope you all understood that because it's really important. Did you know that you could use breathing in particular to help you regain control when life kind of spins it out of control? You can, and I want you to understand how. There's a technique that you can use your breathing to lower your cortisol, lower your blood pressure, lower your temperature, lower your heart rate, and it will make you feel better in as little as 30 seconds. But I bet you're not doing it, and you need to know how. Snipers do it, martial artists use it, heck, the average yoga artist is probably using this, and you need to use it too, especially in times of need. Now, to learn how to do that, you're gonna click on the video called Tactical Breathing. It's on our YouTube channel again. You can access that, and why don't you learn how to take more control over your life. I'll see you soon.